Welcome to How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Rietta.
And I'm Connie. And today we are here with Paul Forchione. So, Paul, how do you deal when shit gets real? But really just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, that's a long story to go into when shit gets real. But to introduce myself, I'm a mindset coach. And what that means to me is this. I help people take back their pen, their life pen, and write the story they want to write for themselves, not for anybody else, not for their spouses, not for their parents, not for anybody else, but the story they want to tell for themselves.
Like that.
So often in my life, everybody wanted to take that pen from me and write the story they thought it should go for me. And so often I grab back that pen and I refuse to give it up and write the story that I want. So that's what I want for my clients. Take back that pen and write the story they want from themselves, because it's their lives to tell and their lives to tell alone.
I like that. Take back the pen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rihanna, that should be your new saying as a writer.
I was going to say, as a writer, I appreciate that on two levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's always taking the pen.
I hope she does and writes the story that she wants for herself.
So how did you start being a mindset coach?
Well, it's a long journey, so I'll start from the beginning. So I don't know if you or your viewers know what cerebral palsy is. It's lack of oxygen to the brain at labor. And as a result of this lack of oxygen to the brain at labor, it can leave one side of the body paralyzed. It could affect speech, and this is all permanent. This does not go away. So when I was born, I wasn't moving the right side of my body very much. And naturally, my mother was very concerned about that. So she took me to the doctors to get testing done. And after several weeks of testing, it came back that I did have cerebral palsy. And the doctor thought it was so severe that they thought that I would never, ever be able to walk. And it would be a good idea when I got to a certain age to get me in a wheelchair, to get me the feel of it, because that was going to be my life going forward.
Wow.
Well, thank goodness for a great mom. She didn't go with that diagnosis. She got a second, third, fourth, fifth, found a physician that was willing to help me. And from then on, I was doing 5 to 6 days of physical therapy every single day. And with doing that physical therapy and with the physician's help, I was able to walk at age 3. And obviously that was huge feat, because these other doctors thought I would never be able to walk. And here I was at age 3 walking. Don't really remember that, but you know, it was the start of a great journey. But I do remember being put into soccer roughly about 5 or 6. And at the time, I could probably run about 25 to 50 yards. And obviously the other kids could run laps around the soccer field. They actually could play soccer. And I'll never forget this, but after practice one day, I went to my mom and I said, "Mom, I don't want to play soccer anymore. This is ridiculous. I'm basically staying there and these other kids are playing soccer." And this changed my life. My mother saying this. So this became my mantra going forward at this young age. My mom said this to me: "Paul, if you don't want to play soccer anymore, that's fine. But you need to honor your commitments. So you need to finish out that soccer season. And if you don't want to play soccer after that, that's your prerogative." And that's basically what happened. I'm 41 years old and I haven't played soccer since. But then I got a big break. Roughly about a year later, I got surgery on my right foot to tighten up the tendon, to give me a little bit more spring in my step. And I did not know how huge of this operation was going to be at the time. But when I switched schools, I remember my first day of PE, physical education. We did our stretches and the teacher said, "Okay, guys, run a lap." And I'm thinking to myself, here we go again. I'm going to run 25 to 50 yards. I'm going to have to stop. These other kids are going to see that and they're going to start teasing me. But because of the surgery, it was different. I remember going past that point where I normally have to stop. And I remember saying to myself, "Come on, Paul, you got this, bud. Keep going, keep going, keep going." And I finished the lap with the other kids. On the outside, I kept it nice and cool. But on the inside, I was like, yes, yes, yes. The first time in my life where I fit in, I didn't stand out like I normally have to. And things did get easier because of this operation. I really fit in with this school. But then I had to switch schools again when I was 12 years old. So I was going into middle school, junior high, whatever you want to call it. And that's a tough age.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Kids are going through hormonal changes, right? And they already have their cliques. They've already been going to school with each other for years and years. So just being a new kid alone, breaking into middle school, junior high is a tough feat. Well, I'm a new kid. I walk with a limp and I hold my right arm differently. So it was even tougher for me. I came into the school and I was pretty much bullied and teased pretty much every single day. And on top of all this, I was raised Catholic, so my mom wanted me to go to a Catholic high school. So I had to take an assessment test to see where I was going to be at academically. Well, I must have bombed that test because when I met with the principal and my mother, the principal comes back to us and says, we're going to put Paul at the lowest level possible. And I don't expect much from him. He does not seem like he's college material. After one test, this principal says this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So now I'm bullied and teased in school. And now I think I'm stupid because the principal that I'm going into this new school is telling me that I'm not very smart because of one test. And I would remember crying myself to sleep most nights going, why me? Why do I have to be different? Why can't I just fit in like the other kids? And I don't know what came over me, guys, but midway through my 8th grade, I was sick and tired of feeling angry and sad all the time. See, those were my go-to emotions because of the environment I was in. But I knew deep down that wasn't the emotions that I normally held inside of me. So I thought to myself, what could I do to kind of distract me? What could I do to get me to ignore the noise and focus in on something? So I thought, what if I set a goal for myself? So I thought, well, what should my goal be? And at the time, I loved baseball. So I thought, what if I tried to make my varsity high school baseball team? So from then on, I played fall ball, winter ball, spring ball. And if I wasn't doing that, I was throwing a tennis ball against the wall. And I was doing this constantly. And the great thing about this, I know this now, looking back, I know this now. I didn't know this at the time, but I was sending a different energy out to these kids now. I had my shoulders back, my head up. So this energy was different. And as a result of this energy that I was sending out, this new energy, these kids were sending a different energy back towards me. In other words, instead of bullying and teasing me, they started rooting for me. So my junior high to my high school career was completely different. And it was all because of my energy shift. And that alone would have been the win. But the cherry on top was I made my varsity baseball team as a junior and a senior. My senior year, I pitched a 3-hit shutout and they poured the Gatorade on me and I never felt so alive. I was so pumped. Yeah. I was so pumped to be a part of that team and to win. And it was great. And then I had such a high, graduated high school. And I really started to think about that goal I set for myself back in junior high about being a varsity high school baseball player. Because at the time I made that goal, I thought that was going to be near impossible. Somebody with cerebral palsy making a varsity high school baseball team, get out of here. It wasn't going to happen, but I made it happen. So I really started to think about what that principal said to me years earlier about not being college material. In high school, I kind of listened to that narrative. I thought, well, I'm not college material, so why try? So I just did enough to stay eligible to play baseball. I didn't do anything more than that because I thought, why waste my time? I'm not college material. Let's just get by. I didn't have that great of grades, but I thought, well, crap, why not make another goal for myself and say that I am college material? So I enrolled into a junior college because that was the only place that would accept me at the time. And I got myself a math tutor, a regular tutor. I went to the math lab and I did this 5 days a week. I did everything necessary to increase my grade point average. So I took my barely a 2.0, probably underneath a 2.0 to a 3.5, where I was able to transfer to a 4-year university where I was able to graduate. And I so wanted to go back to that principal and say, see, you were wrong. I was college material. But I decided not to. Well, go on. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I would want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Yeah. But you know what? I think I in the end, I think I should thank her because I heard her voice all through college saying that it wasn't college material. And I'm like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. And because of that, I hit the books extremely hard. And I don't know if I would have hit the books as hard as I did if I didn't have her voice playing over and over in my head saying that I was, college material. So now, yeah, exactly. So now I graduated college. I have no life experience whatsoever. I have no idea what the heck I want to do with myself. And
like most of us.
Exactly. Yeah, most of us. We don't know what we want to do at 22, 23 years old.
Oh, isn't that
Nope.
the truth?
Yeah. So had a family friend who was a CEO of a small bank, and he came to me and said, why don't you become a mortgage loan officer with my company? I'll hire you. And I'm like, I got nothing going on. Yeah, let's do it. Hire me.
Yeah, why not?
So yeah, exactly. So I get in, and no one wants to talk to me. I'm thinking to myself, what in the heck is going on? Why does everybody ignore me? I never felt this way since middle school that I was getting this treatment. But I quickly realized what the issue was. Every single person knew that I knew the CEO of the company. So they knew it wasn't
Oh.
because of my talents. It was because of my name. So their plan was they're going to make it a living hell for me. They're going to chew me up and they're going to spit me out because I don't belong there. And I thought to myself, no, I'm going to prove my worth here. So I never complained about the workload. I had a positive attitude. And from afar, I was reviewing what the top loan officers did because they didn't want to talk to me. So I had to watch from afar for what they did on a daily basis. And I'll never forget it. My first day of wanting to go out in the field and bring in loans for the first time, my family friend CEO stops me and goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go out in the field. I'm ready. I'm going to get some loans. He has a concerned look on his face. Like, no, man, you aren't ready. Let's get you some more training and then we'll send you out soon. I'm like, no. I got this. So I go out and I fall on my face. He was right. I need way more training. I mean, the clients were abusing me. It was rough, but slowly but surely, I started to realize value I could add to these clients. And once I started doing that, I started to get loans and more loans and more loans and more loans. And 2 years later in that company, I became a top producer. And a lot of the people that didn't want to talk to me are now coming to me with questions on how I was able to turn it around so quickly. So it was a huge, huge feat. And I really, really enjoyed the business for a long, long time. But then
I was going to say, I think you were saying 2008 because that was the year I graduated college and it was horrible.
yeah, exactly. It was a bad time of year to, especially for you graduating college. It was horrible. The economy was bad. It was hard to find a job. So I would get it. So now in this industry, I would get a job and the whole company would go belly up. And then I'd have to get another job and that company would go belly up. And this happened quite a few times. So I started to really lose the luster of being in the industry. But I'll never forget it. The last place I was at, they brought in this motivational speaker to drum up the numbers for the sales team, motivate us so that we would go out and really, really give it a go. And the guy blew me away. The guy was tremendous. The guy was awesome. So after the presentation, I made a point to go talk to him and to tell him how great of a presentation he did and really motivated me. And he told me he started as a life coach. And I'm like, life coach? What in the heck is that? And he explained that to me. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's what I want to do. Maybe I want to do that. So on my off time of doing the mortgage, I was getting my coaching certificate to become a coach. And I was telling people that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a coach. And the people in the mortgage industry were just humoring me. Okay, coach, whatever, dude. Go out and get loans, bud. Whatever. Who cares? And then things started to really get serious. I got my website up and get licensing and all that good stuff. And I was going to do it on the side while my main job was still giving me mortgage. And the legal team came to me, saw that I was starting this up and said, what are you doing? And I explained my plan. And they're like, this could be a conflict of interest. We're going to have to get back to you. And I'm like, that does not sound good.
No.
Yeah.
And they came back to me.
How is that a conflict of interest?
I don't,
Yeah.
well, I have a 5-page report that you could look over to tell you, but it was brutal. They gave me this report and basically if I follow this to the letter of the law, there's no way I'm going to get any traction in this business at all. It wasn't going to happen. So I thought to myself, I'm going to have to make some changes if I really wanted to do it. So I spent a year still in the mortgage industry, paying off all my debts, changing my spending habits, doing everything I needed to do to set myself up. And a year later, I quit. And I remember people had their mouths drop like, what in the heck are you doing? And I said, I'm going to be a coach. And they're like, that is pie in the sky nonsense. You're a mortgage loan officer. That's what you do. You just made President's Club. Quit with the nonsense. You can't quit. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go give it a go. And they're like, okay, you're going to be back, guaranteed. And so I went out and did it. And for the longest time, I wasn't doing well. I didn't get any clients. It was really, really, really tough. And then I thought, well, might have to go back to the mortgage industry. I really thought about adding value to the clients. And I thought to myself, how do I expect people to be vulnerable with me if I'm not going to be vulnerable with them? See, the
Mhm.
story I told you about having cerebral palsy, I wanted to bury that story. I didn't want to tell a soul about that story because all through growing up, all I wanted to do was fit in. I didn't want any special treatment. I just want to be treated like anybody else. So
Mhm.
anytime anybody said, "Why are you limping?" I would make up some silly excuse. Or if I brought up that I had cerebral palsy, I would be near in tears. But I thought the only way I'm going to get traction in this business is if I be vulnerable and share my story so that the client will feel comfortable to share their story with me. They can have empathy for me. We can have empathy for each other. And slowly but surely I started telling my story. And I never forget my first client ever came up to me and goes, "Paul, I don't have cerebral palsy, but I have X, Y, and Z. I think you can help me. I want your help." And I slowly got bigger and bigger and bigger from there. And I'm doing it and having a great time. And now I'm on the podcast with you guys. And I'm sure that was a long answer, but that's my story.
Hey,
It
I
was
think it's a good
awesome.
answer.
Yeah. And actually, I think it'll be great to hear. We actually had a good friend of mine. Her daughter is only 3 right now, and she has cerebral palsy. She
Mm,
actually just got what they call a dorsal resectomy, which I was going to ask you if it was the same thing you had, but it didn't sound like it by the way you described it.
mm.
And they told her the same thing, that she was never going to walk, and then she had this dorsal resectomy, and now she is.
Awesome.
So this will be a great
Beautiful.
story for her to hear. So
Beautiful.
I'm going to make sure to tell her to listen to this episode, because she definitely has those moments as a mom where you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. I worry about her. Is she going to be okay? Is she going to be able to walk? She's going to love it. And I think it's really inspiring. And if you're a baseball fan, I don't know if you know about Jason Benetti. He's the color man for the Chicago White Sox. He actually has cerebral palsy.
I did not know that. I'm gonna have to look him up.
Yeah.
Growing up, my guy was Jim Abbott.
See,
I
you
don't know
always
who
had
that
that one
is.
person that you're like
Yeah, that
looking
the
at.
blueprint.
The
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
influence.
I guess I only really, well, I mean, I'm a White Sox fan, but I went to high school with Jason too. He was like 2 years ahead of me, 2 or 3 years ahead of me. So it helped me know who he was. But it's just so cool to see him. Like, he's such a good color, and he never even played. He couldn't play baseball. He never played
Ah,
baseball because he had CP. But he's an amazing announcer. So his knowledge of baseball is incredible from somebody who has never played it.
that's great. I'm gonna have to really look him up.
So talking about baseball and like the surgery that you had for your that tendon, how many surgeries did you end up having?
Thank goodness, only one.
Oh, really?
So I
That's
Wow.
needed.
awesome.
That's all I needed. But it was a lot of physical therapy. A
Oh, I
lot of it. I
bet.
mean, I was doing physical therapy from the time I was pretty much born all the way to 10.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
lot.
Wow.
That's a
Yeah.
lot of physical therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it
What
was
was it?
needed because if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be able to walk.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Was there like a lot of like physical therapy and like recovery time after the tendon surgery?
Yeah. There was. I was able. The cool thing though, they gave me a little bit of. I was had a cast, but I had a boot, so I was able to walk. So that made it easier for me. But yeah, there was a lot. But right after I got the cast off, then yeah, I had to do a lot of physical therapy with stretch bands, swimming, a lot of muscle memory, a lot of good stuff.
So you could make that lap around the gym.
That's right. That I can make that lap around the field. Yep, I did. Yeah,
So do you still love baseball?
I do. I do. I'm Southern California, so I grew up an Angels fan, mainly probably because of Jim Abbott, one-handed pitcher. Was my inspiration. I was a kid when he came up, so he kind of was kind of my role model on wanting to do it. So yeah, I still love baseball.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
I've been to Angel Stadium. That's a nice stadium.
Yeah, it's one of the believe it or not, it's one of the oldest. It's I think it's the fifth oldest field.
Yeah.
You guys just changed, right? It's Comiskey Park, is that what it's called?
It
Or it
used to
used to
be
be.
it used
Yeah.
to be Comiskey. Now it's guaranteed rate.
Okay.
It changes a lot, and each
changes
name
a lot.
change is worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, these haven't gotten better. US Cellular was better than guaranteed rate.
Yeah.
What?
Well, the problem with guaranteed rate is there's like a down arrow. So there was a lot of memes for a while that were like, oh, is a down arrow for how terrible you are? Like there was all this stuff.
Yeah.
But the Chicago has the oldest baseball stadium in the league, which is Wrigley.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Them in Fenway.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would love to go to Fenway one day.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
See?
We'll all go. It'll be
Yeah,
it'll be
let's
great.
do it.
Let's do it.
We can do a podcast from Fenway Park.
Oh my
Oh
god,
my
wouldn't that
God.
be amazing?
That would be
great.
amazing. That would be amazing. So does your CP still affect you today, or do you walk perfectly fine now?
I still have a slight limp, and I still hold my right arm a little bit differently. I mean, it doesn't. I let it not affect me very much. Typing might be a little bit of an issue for me with my right hand, but other than that, I don't let it affect me. I've ran a marathon. I've read several 10 5Ks. So
That's awesome.
I just don't let it affect me. Yeah, I do have a little bit of limitations, but I focus on what I can do and as opposed to what I can't.
No, that's amazing. I mean, being able to run, I haven't even run a marathon. So, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. So yeah, it wasn't easy, but it was well worth it once you hit it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think I could run a marathon.
I love running and I couldn't run a marathon. So definitely hats off to you.
When I went to mile 18, that's when I hit the wall. I'm like, gosh, I got 8 more miles to go, and I just ran 18. So I would say mile 18 to 21 were brutal because my mind and my body were playing tricks on me. But then
They were like, no.
yeah, exactly. But then when you got closer, you got a new adrenaline of energy. And I ran it in LA. So there's so many people on the sidelines, and you have your name on your bib. So people are shouting out your name. Come on, Paul. Come on, Paul. So you had a lot of motivation. So I think that's what really helped.
That's awesome.
How
Yeah.
was the training for that? I mean, man, like you've gotten really far from barely been able to like run what you said, like 20 yards or something.
Yeah.
How was the training like to be able to run a marathon?
Like I tell my clients to do is don't look at the mountain, look at the next step. And that's what I did. So for the first couple weeks, I ran 1 or 2 miles. Then I increased it to 3, 4, 5. And then I went all the way up. I think the most I ran on one time before the marathon was 18. They told me not to run. Did studies. They told me not to run a full marathon training. They said, the max go 18. So that's what I did. I did 18 before the marathon, but it was slow steps. I gave myself pretty much a year to do it, to get me into shape. But that's the thing is if you're just gonna stand there and look at running 26 miles, you're gonna say, forget that. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I said to myself, well, I can do 1 mile. And then once I did 1 mile, I can do 2. And then I could do 3. And then it just slowly but surely climbed up the ladder. And that's how I talk with my clients. Let's not look at the mountain. Let's look at what the next step is. And once we make that next step, we'll find out what the next step is after that. Because when you start to get momentum on something, when you start to make progress, you feel good about yourself. Mm-hmm. So you want to hit it harder and harder and harder, and it just makes you feel good, and you want to make that next step. And you get halfway, and then all of a sudden you're halfway there, and you're like, oh man, I'm making some progress. Let's keep going.
Yeah, an object in motion stays in motion.
I love it. You're right.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to do it.
Well,
I look at 1 mile like, oh, no thanks.
Well, is it because you can't do it, or you just don't want to?
It's honestly because I just don't want to.
Yes. Yeah, that's still, yeah, exactly. And that's perfectly fine.
Oh yeah.
So with your mom, I know you talked about, it's been a while back now, but with your mom, you talked about how she wouldn't take no for an answer and she was always looking for the better solution for you. So how did your mom's mindset influence you?
Oh, like I told you about that story about when I was in soccer and she told me I need to honor my commitments. That really resonated with me just at that young of age. My mom never, ever allowed me to give an excuse. I mean, there was times where, I'm doing physical therapy and I'm crying. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't care. And and I'd be like, I don't care. I don't know. I don't need to run or blah, 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 blah. And my mom would never, ever, ever let me quit. She kept pushing me. She told me I could do it. And with her help, I can't say enough great things about my mom, because I'd be in a wheelchair right now, straight up, if my mom wasn't around. And I got to tell you, when I made that transition from loan officer to coaching, everybody was against that. They're thinking, what is it? Except for my mom. I said to my mom, I want to do this. And she said, how bad do you want it? I said, I want it bad. And she said, you got to do it because you can't live in regret. You got to do it. If it doesn't work out, you can live with that, but you cannot live with regret. And she's so right.
Yeah.
I love that. Never quit. Keep going. Like the stuff you always hear, but when it comes from your mom, it's such a different thing. And I love that that even when you were older, she was still like, you want that business? You do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. She's still alive and still a, great part of my life.
You haven't mentioned anything about your dad. Was he in the picture? How did he handle the CP?
Yeah, my dad was in the picture. He since passed away a couple years ago, but no problem. He was involved. He's the one that probably put the baseball in my head because he really loved baseball. My parents got divorced probably when I was, right that when I made the move for junior high. That's the reason why the reason why I had to switch schools in junior high. It was because my parents got divorced. Mm-hmm. So and I went with my mom, and for a good bit of time, my dad and I weren't that close. We thank goodness though, in my later years we rekindled our friendship and our love. So there was no regrets when he passed, but for the longest time, my mom was my only advocate. And I can't say enough good things about my mom, because when they did get divorced, my mom had to work 2 jobs, to pay the bills. And the fact that my mom wanted to send me to a Catholic high school where she had to pay tuition, she could have just sent me to a public school. It probably would have helped her a lot, but she wanted to send me to that school. So she did. So she had to make the extra cash to do it. So, I mean, she never complained. I imagine at some point in time, she probably only slept 4 or 5 hours, but she never complained about it. Always had a great attitude. And looking back, I mean, she did a lot.
Way to go, Mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. My talking to my mom now about like the divorce, but her still doing a lot for me and my brothers. She's like, well, mother will do anything for her child. Like any good mom will do anything.
So where did a call to action, where did that name come from? Like, was it sparked from something, or just you thought it was just exactly what you needed people to know about your coaching business?
Yeah, I think it was just, I was just thinking about my journey. And the theme about my journey was taking action, always taking action. When I was bullied and teased, it took action. When I wanted to go to college, I took action. When I want to start the coaching business, I took action. So it's all stem from that. And I kind of now pivot a little bit with just, with my messaging and stuff like that, and worked in rewriting your story. And I actually developed a Facebook group. It's been a great feat for us here at the Facebook group called Rewrite Your Story. And basically it's people, it's people all over the nation and all over the world. They come in and they are able to tell their stories with no judgment and only support. And we have meetup groups once a month where we come together and we have a thing we talk about, but we allow everybody a space to express themselves. And we're all there just rooting them on. And if we can, we give some advice. And I got to tell you, every time we do these meetups, I feel so good. I feel energized afterwards. So it's a great thing. I have great people in the group, and love for you guys to join if you want to.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the name of it and the whole idea behind it. So we'd love that.
Great.
Yeah, it sounds like a larger version of our podcast here.
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
So do you have a specific type of client, or are you just there to help anybody and everybody who needs you?
It's funny. The people that have been attracted to my style of coaching, the ages range from roughly about, my youngest client's 22 and my oldest client is 51, I think. So it's a big gamut, and it's a wide variety. I deal with clients that like I have a client who was in a bad car accident, where building up the mindset, getting them through the pain of unfortunately not being able to walk anymore. And he's an
gosh.
amazing man, amazing man, and he's doing some great things. And I have other clients that, like I said, I have a 22-year-old who, just got out of college, and I tell him all the time, man, you talk like you're 40. I mean, he's so well spoken, so well read. I'm like, I'm inspired by you. I'm inspired by what you're going to be. So I have a gamut of people who work with me, but generally it's generally people that are wanting to change, that they're willing to make changes. I think coaching, like people ask me, well, I don't need a coach. Well, if you have that attitude, then you don't need a coach, because coaching is about getting yourself out of your own head, getting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, get you out of that comfort zone so that you can grow and do things differently. And if you're not willing to do that, if you're not, and then coaching's not for you. So, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody wants a coach, not even needs a coach, but I mean, I have a coach for myself because I think it's important for me to have a coach. I remember when I was interviewing coaches for myself, my first question I would ask that other coaches, do you have a coach? And if they said no, that would give me pause. Like, why don't you have a coach? You believe in coaching, right? Well, you're coaching other people. Why don't you have a coach? For me, it was important that I had a coach for myself, because I think that if I'm not believing in it, how do I expect the client to believe in it? So I think it's just, just a kind of a chain, a nice positive chain.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
that. That's great.
Yeah.
It's a good first question too.
Yeah.
It is. That is a good first question because it really breaks the ice.
Yeah. Oh, it is. But now I have a coach that I'm probably not going to change for a while. He's kind of a business coach. So I do more of the rewrite your story, and he does, okay, this is, let's get
how to like move your business forward.
Correct.
Kind of
Yep.
deal.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yep.
So what advice would you give to our listeners? Any piece of advice that you think is important or earth shattering or whatever you want to think of it?
Well, I want to tell your audience a little exercise that I have my clients do, because it really makes a huge difference.
I love
I'm down for an
this.
exercise.
Giving our podcast listeners something to do.
Exactly.
Giving them homework.
Yeah. I hope they do it, because I do it and I have my clients do it. So,
Everybody
and it's
get a
very
pen.
simple. It's very simple, but it helps. It helps so much. So when you wake up in the morning, before you start your morning routine, whatever the heck that is, everybody's different. I get it. Take a few minutes and write it down. If you can, a couple things that you're grateful for, something that's going right in your life right this moment, because it starts your day on the right foot. Your mind starts seeking out positive things. It could be you get something on your phone that says free coffee, up the day gets better and better and better. And if you do that more often, you're going to have more good days than bad. Because did you guys freeze?
No,
Nope.
I absolutely love this. I'm just listening to you talk at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, how many times like you get a new car, right? And you drive that car around, and now you see that same car that you just bought. You didn't see it before, but because you bought that car, you see it all over the place, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
You guys.
Yeah.
I experience that all the time. And it's the same thing with the positive and negative mindset. Your mind goes to what you're thinking about. So if you're training your mind to look at positive things, it's going to seek more positive, because if you go negative, it can seek negative. So you could be driving down the street, right, and get a flat tire, and you have a negative mindset. You can say, just my luck. This would happen to me. I would get a flat tire because things like this happen to me. And I would say to that person, yeah, things like that happen to you because your mind's seeking that. You're going after that negative mindset. So the bottom line is being aware of your thoughts. I've done this with one of my clients, and it was eye-opening. He wrote down for a day his thoughts. Anytime he had a thought, he wrote it. He had a notepad and he wrote it down. And then the next day he evaluated all his thoughts, within reason. I mean, we have billions of thoughts, but when he could write it down, he wrote it down. And he looked at it and he goes, man, this kind of stuff I wouldn't even say to my worst enemy. And I'm saying to myself on the daily basis.
Oh my gosh.
And he was like, this is crazy. And I go, it's not bad. Now you're aware of that. Now when your mind goes that way, you can stop that these are just thoughts. This is not your reality. You do not have to make these thoughts your reality. Once you're aware of these thoughts that come in your head, you could say, you know what? This is not how I want it to go down. And that's when you take that pen back and say, nope, that's not how this is going to go. This is how it's going to go. I'm going to write I'm going to write a different thought in my head.
I love it.
I love it too.
With your business, has any of it like changed because of COVID? Did you used to see people in person and now it's more virtual? A little bit of both, doesn't really matter. It's all the same.
It really didn't change that much because I do most of my business on Zoom because most of my clients aren't local, and a lot of them, and even if they are local, a lot of my clients are real busy people, so I don't have time all the time to meet me somewhere or anything like that. So it's a lot easier for them just to open up a laptop after work and talk and do it that way. So in that sense, it doesn't. I mean, I do meet people every now and again live, and that's fun to actually be able to reach out and touch somebody.
How's it going?
Yeah, exactly. For the most part, technology has been a beautiful thing, and I really haven't skipped a beat because of COVID. Thank goodness.
Well, I'm glad it hasn't affected your business and you've been able to keep rolling. That's always, we've seen so many people struggling. So I'm glad to see that you didn't struggle during COVID. Yeah.
I mean, I did lose a few clients, which I understood, but you know what? I mean, in the value of service, I did do a month worth of free coaching for them.
So nice.
Because of it, because like, I just felt like I should do that. And then I said, after this month, then, we can just keep in touch as friends. And then if you want to come back, yeah, exactly.
So this one is like totally not connected to what we've been talking about. Okay. So what do you think your mom's advice would be to mothers with children who have CP?
It's a great question. I've never been asked that question before, and that's a great question. I would say that not just go with one doctor. You know what I mean? The doctors are human beings. They're fallible. So if they tell you a situation where you're not going to be able to walk, that's just a human being's opinion. Yeah, they're a doctor. Yeah, they're an expert, but they don't know it all. And it would be a disservice to your kids to just go with one opinion. Keep going for other opinions. Get alternative advice. Sometimes maybe you need to go outside of the normal Western medicine type of advice and go a different route. But just don't give up. Don't give up on your kids. Your kids need you. They need your support. And if you can do whatever you can with your kids, then you can live with that. You can live with no regret, right? If you did everything you can, you knew you exhausted every ounce of opinions or information, and you did everything you can, that's one thing. But I would hate for a parent, to only go with one and then think down the road, like, what if I did that? What if I did that? What if I did that? You know what I mean? So I think that's what she would say.
Sounds about right.
And I feel like that applies to pretty much every parent, really.
Yeah, it does. It does, because not everybody has CP, but everybody has something. The kids have something. There's something that they struggle with. And it's up to the parents, moms and dads, to help.
You can't give up on your kids. We're their only voice, especially with you when you were only 3. You couldn't say, Mom, I want to keep trying. You needed her to be your voice.
Yep.
That's absolutely right. She was my voice. And thank goodness she was, because I am the person I am today because of her.
Okay, we're going to end it with one fun question.
Connie loves her fun questions.
I do.
I love it.
I do. I don't start off with fun questions. I end with the fun question.
And on a good note.
Yeah, exactly. If you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
I would want to fly. I think that would be so cool to just
go classic.
At any moment in time. I'm having a bad day. You know what? I'm just going to get in the sky with the birds and fly to the ocean and check out the bird's eye view. I think that would just be, tremendous. I would love that. I would do that every single day. It would be my zen, flying.
And then you could go anywhere. You could go wherever you wanted to go.
Yeah.
I think how much money you would save. You would never have to buy another airplane ticket ever again.
Oh, yeah. Boy, you would save thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right. So this is how to deal when shit gets real. Make sure to check us out on every Friday and to rate and review us and check out all of our social media. And we will be here every Friday.